Hi, welcome to Notes on Let's Analyze That Data. Today we'll be looking at dot plots. Please make sure to have your notes nearby so you can write down important information and examples. Feel free to pause your video at any time to write down examples or have more time to practice the problems we're doing. Let's begin. Let's look at a few common measures of data. Mean, median, and mode are measures of central tendency. Range we do not describe as a measure of central tendency. Pause your video to write down the definitions on your screen. When you're ready, we will go over the definition of each. The middle value in a set of ordered pairs is the median. I always like to think of the median in the road. It's the middle of the road. The number or category that occurs most often. Mode. When I think about mode, I think of a mode of transportation, and the most common mode of transportation is walking, because once we even get to our destination, we walk around from place to place while we're there. The difference between the highest and lowest values in a data set are the range. I like to think about the range for my cell phone tower. The distance between me and the tower tells me about my service. And last but not least, the value that represents an even distribution of values in a data set is the mean. Many of you will think about the mean teacher who gave you your average. Dante surveyed 10 basketball players to find out how many points each player scored in a recent game. The results are shown. The question is, what is the mode? Remember that the mode is the number or numbers, if any, that appear most frequently. The best way to find mode is to first put your numbers in order from least to greatest. Once they're grouped, we can see 11 shows up twice, 13 shows up 3 times, 14 and 15 show up once, 16 shows up twice, and 17 shows up once. Since the number 13 shows up 3 times, it is the number that appears most frequently. Even though 11 and 16 show up twice, they do not appear more than the other numbers. Again, we're talking about Dante, and this time we're looking for the median. That is the middle number, or the average of 2 numbers in the middle, when in order from least to greatest. So first, we're going to put them in order. I like to cross them out from left to right, and when I get done, I've got 2 numbers in the middle, 13 and 14. When I take 13 and 14 and add them together, I get 27. 27 divided by 2 is 13 and a half. You can also ask yourself what number is directly in the middle of 13 and 14. That number is 13 and a half. Mr. Cannon kept records of how many students attended her math tutorials for the last 8 weeks. We want to find the mode and the median. First, we put our numbers in order from least to greatest. The mode is the number or numbers that show up most often. I can see that 7 shows up twice. To calculate the median, again, I go from left to right, crossing them off. I have 2 numbers in the middle, 7 and 9. When I add them together, I get 7 plus 9 is 18 divided by 2. 7 plus 9 is 16 divided by 2 is 8. I can also ask myself, what number is between 7 and 9? And that number is 8. So again, the mode is 7 because it shows up twice and all the other numbers show up once. The median is 8 because it is the number between 7 and 9. Again, we're looking at Dante's results, and we are going to look for the mean. The mean is found by dividing the sum of the values by the number of values. So the first thing we will do is take all of the numbers and add them together, and we will be dividing by 10. So go ahead and pause your video and use a calculator to add these numbers up and then divide by 10, and then we'll check our answer. your mean should be 13.9. Your sum of the digits was 139. 139 divided by 10 is 13 9/10. Marta's grades in math class are shown below. So we've got a set of test grades. We want the mode, the median, and the mean. Let's put the test grades in order. As you look for the mode, none of the numbers show up more than any others. Each number appears one time, so there will be no mode. The median, as we cross them off with our imaginary pencil, we have just one number in the middle, which is 97. And the mean, if you'll pause your video, add them up with a calculator, and then divide by 1, 2, 7, because there are 7 grades, you'll get your average. So here are our answers. We said the mode was none. We found the median to be 97, which is right here in the middle, and your mean is 100. Now we're going to move on to a dot plot. A dot plot is a visual display in which each value in the data set is represented by a dot above a number line. A dot plot shows the frequency of each value in the data set. So a green dot represents a girl, a blue dot represents a boy. So in this picture, we could actually count the number of dots to see how many students took the test. Sometimes a dot plot is also known as a line plot. Again, please pause the video at any time to take notes or work problems. Ms. Mize surveyed students at random in her math class to find out how many minutes they studied for the last math test. She created the dot plot below to represent the data. The first question we want to answer is how many students were surveyed. Pause your video to answer this question. For this question, you should get 40. And how do you know that? Well, that's the number of dots that are in our picture. You can simply count each dot because each dot represents a student. Let's go through and analyze this dot plot a little bit more. If we want to describe the shape of the data, we could say this shape is clustered to the left. Most of my points, or majority of my points, are on the left. So we cluster it left, and we call it asymmetrical because it is not separated directly in half. The center of the data is going to be the mean or the median. Again, this would be 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, so we'd have all those zeros lined up, and we could cross out from left to right to find the number in the middle. And the spread is from 0 to 60. We call 60 an outlier because it is the point that is the furthest away from all the other data. What percent of students were surveyed studied less than 20 minutes? So we do not want to include the students who studied for 20 minutes. We only want the ones that studied less. So you would count your dots in the 0, 5, 10, and 15 columns, which is 24. And again, we surveyed 40 students. Now we haven't answered the question of what percent. So 24 out of 40 is the same as 12 out of 20. 12 out of 20 can easily be changed to 60 out of 100. 20 times 5 is 60, 20 times 5 is 100, 12 times 5 is 60, so we get 60%. This question here refers back to your examples from Friday. So if you have questions about changing a fraction to a percent, please make sure you look at your notes from Friday or you come to tutorials to ask your teacher. The median, the number in the middle. Pause your video now to answer these questions. The median is going to be 15, so you'd have to start from left to right, crossing out numbers. The mode, or the number that shows up the most, is a tie between 10 and 15. 10 and 15 have the same number of dots. The mean is going to be 18 and 1/4, which means we added up all the minutes and divided by 40. Even though these students studied no minutes, they are still in our data. The range is 60, but it's an outlier, so most of the data is between 0 and 50. Here's another example about the number of people in a household. Pause your video to answer this question. The shape of this data is symmetric because there's almost as many points on the left as there are on the right. The center is about 4. The mode and the median are both 4. The average is 4 and 44/100ths. The spread, or the range, is from 2 to 8, which gives you a range of 6. Again, we are looking at the same data for people in a household. What percent of the class has a household with more than 4? So in this problem, we will not include houses with 4 people. We have 10 out of 25, so we count all of the dots that are 5 and above, and that number is 10. There's 25 dots, which is 40%. Again, if you have questions about how to get 40%, you're going to want to attend tutorials with your teacher. Computers sold at an electronics store for each day of the week. So we can clearly see that Friday is the best day to sell a computer, or the busiest day at the electronics store. What percent of computers were sold on weekends? Weekdays was a Monday. So we look at Monday. There are 6 computers sold on Monday. There are 40 computers sold during the week for a total of 15%. What percent of all computers sold during the entire week were sold on Friday? So we're going to count the number that were on Friday, which is 12 out of, should be 12 out of 50, because this is talking about the entire week, which is 24%. And that was our last example. I want to go back real quick. This question here, we had a denominator of 40 because it was asking us about computers sold on the weekdays. So the weekdays would be Monday through Friday. So we did not include the Saturday and Sunday sales. That's why your denominator is 40. And on this last question here, it was asking about the computers sold during the week. So this would be the data from all 7 days. Please feel free to watch the video again and come to class with questions. Thank you so much.